Today at the Chicagoland Speedway, 4 men will pull on their crash helmets, settle into their cockpits and start a quest for $1 million and victory in the 2006 IndyCar Championship. The 4 are separated by just 21 points. Helio Castroneves, the 2001 and 2 Indy 500 winner, has yet to take the title. But the Team Penske driver is only a point ahead of his teammate, former champion Sam Hornish. Britain's Dan Wheldon seeks to take the title for a successive second year, while his Ganassi teammate Scott Dixon would love to repeat his 2003 championship success. It could go either way in the peak Antifreeze Indy 300. Yes, it all started at the Homestead Miami Speedway back in March, but today, after 13 hard-fought rounds of the IndyCar Series, 4 drivers still have that chance of the title, and the big news is that the same 4 will fill the front 2 rows of the grid. It's a nail-biting finale with only 21 points between the 4 title contenders. It'll go any of 4 ways. To discuss this battle royal between the Penske and Ganassi team drivers, I'm joined today by Christopher Tate and Paul Cherry. But before we speak to them, let's just check out the headlines. Sam Hornish, looking for his 3rd IndyCar title, has put it on pole at 215.310 miles an hour. Kiwi ace Scott Dixon, champion in 2003, was a fraction slower to start on the front row also. And defending champion Dan Wheldon can't be ruled out either. He starts in 3rd place alongside Helio Castroneves, who's still looking for his 1st IndyCar title, remarkably. But young Marco Andretti, winner last time out, has only qualified in an unlucky 13th place. So let's talk to our experts about the chances of the top 4, starting with Sam Hornish, if I can come to you, Paul. I mean, he's been there twice before, but this year he's on it.
Without a doubt, with a point just separating the 2 Penske guys, they've got it all to play for. Hopefully Sam doesn't get into a tussle with his teammate as he has done before this year and taken both of them out. But I think he starts the favourite, even though he's the point behind. He's very strong on the short ovals. He's brave enough to go around the outside, as we've seen before. He'll take every risk because he's got nothing to lose.
Dan Wheldon, I think, has had 5 wins, according to my research anyway, 5 wins of 25 on these medium-sized 1.5 mile ovals. So he's pretty good at this kind of track as well. Can he edge it as well today? I mean, is he in that kind of position?
Yeah, I mean, he can, and he is particularly strong on a 1.5 mile. Why that should be, I don't know. And of course, this is his 1st year with the Ganassi team, but it would be good to see him doing it. They've just got, both Ganassi boys have just got that bit more to do. They're that much further behind in the points. And I think it will come down to the 2 Penske guys. And I must say I agree with Paul that Sam looks stronger, but nothing would give me greater pleasure than see the Ganassi boys really making it a race right through to the end. I think in this sort of race, inevitably, it's all going to be about the last 10 laps, Keith, so we'll just we'll have to bear with it while we go through it this afternoon and see how it goes. It's going to be very exciting.
I can't tell you how happy I am to be sitting back here doing the IndyCars for the final round as well. Scott Dixon, you can't rule him out. He's had a good year this year, hasn't he, Paul?
No, without a doubt. He sort of plied his trade, shall we say, internationally last year, didn't get any takers, so I think he's taken the right view that he should really dig deep and get back into IndyCar. He's had a very, very strong year. He's had a strong teammate, so that has helped, both in the feedback of the team with the data, but also spurs you on a little bit more than perhaps he's had in the past. So I think he's definitely in with a chance, but like Chris was saying, and I said earlier, I think it's all going to be about Penske this evening, barring failures.
You bring me nicely back into Helio Castroneves, of course. I mean, we were talking before we came on air. I've been looking through some of the books to see what had been done in the past, and he lost that championship in 2002 to Sam Hornish by the minutest. In fact, another bit of research, 3 out of the top 10 closest finishes in IndyCar have been here at Chicagoland, so I think those 10 laps could be quite hectic.
Well, that's what I was saying about the last 10 laps. It was that time he lost was really almost by the paint on the front of the nose cone, you know, and it gets down to the point where it really depends if the mechanics remember to put the little transmitter right in the very front of the car. It's going to be very, very tight at the end, and Castroneves is just, apart from his 2 500 wins, the big Indy 500 wins, has just been just that little bit outpsyched from time to time by Hornish. I think Hornish is mentally tougher.
You're doing very well here, because you bring me to the psychology of things, and particularly, I mean, it's all very well about the mechanics and about the racecraft and all the rest of it, but when you come down to the last race, $1 million on the line and everything else that goes with it, psychologically, it's quite a difficult round for all of these 4.
Yes, and people are always surprised outside motor racing. I had a very interesting conversation this week with another sportsman altogether who was astonished how much of the psychology goes into it in motor racing, and a well-known world champion has announced his retirement today. What made him so hard, what makes Schumacher so successful, is he's just prepared to be that much tougher than anybody else in his head, and that's why he's just done what he's done. And I just think Hornish has got that certainly over Dixon, certainly over Castroneves. I think Dan Weldon is a lot tougher than his cheerful UK playboy image perhaps lets you believe.
Cheeky chappy, but a real thirst for a win.
Yeah.
Got some work to do. That's how our experts have assessed the chances tonight, of course, at the moment. Other news to catch up on. Sarah Fisher's having a second run of the year and has qualified near the back of the field, just behind Danica Patrick, but missing from the field, Dario Franchitti. He's had another playtime experience to forget. Now, we all know about the motorcycle incident when he dumped that MV Augusta some time ago and cost him dearly, and now it's an E-Type. You were there.
Yes, that's right. This was at the Great Goodwood Revival, a fantastic event. And on practice day, it was a bit tricky conditions, and they were all practicing for a pre-66 sports car competition, the great RACTT. Adrian Newey, the designer of the McLaren over the years and now of Red Bull, had a big accident. And on his first outlap in $1 million worth of an American collector's beautiful thing, Dario, from some as yet unexplained reason, had a big off and smacked the wall very hard, and he banged his head on the roll cage. You know, it's not quite the same neck protection and everything else inside a 1962 E-Type as it is inside a 2006 Indy car. And the rules are very clear. If you've been concussed, you're not going to race the following weekend. And he was concussed. He was actually not really too clever in Chichester Hospital last Friday evening, but I saw his brother Marino the next day, and he said, yeah, he's doing better. And I think he ended up having a jolly dinner with Lord March at Goodwood House, and it was all right. But the IRL doctors have said no racing.
Well, I'm not surprised. He couldn't remember the hour leading it up to it, Paul. And when you're concussed to the extent where you can't remember part of your life, it's a fairly major incident.
No, without a doubt, the problem with concussion we've seen in a number of drivers is, you know, it is very sporadic and it can lead to other things. So, quite rightly, 230 mile an hour speedway racing is perhaps not the thing to do immediately afterwards. The right decision, but an interesting choice in driver, bringing AJ Foyt back into the mix. Hasn't run in the series, run in the NASCAR Championship, not particularly well, yet he's the fastest out of all the Andretti Green cars this weekend.
Yeah. It's astonishing. I mean, it really is astonishing. As you say, he's not run at all this year, and for some reason, the Andretti Green have had a stinker of a qualifier, and young AJ is 11th quickest, and he's the best Andretti Green driver. I mean, it's really unusual. They've been so strong this year, but Kanaan and co. well out of it at the moment. Herta second slowest.
A lot to talk about, I think, as far as this evening goes. One, harping back to Goodwood, was he on a mend it, you bend it, you mend it kind of fee as far as Dario is concerned with his E-Type?
I mean, I do gather from sources close to that team that the damage is pretty serious, and the damage to Adrian Newey's one's pretty serious too. You know, lovely old cars. It's a bit different to wrecking a lot of carbon fibre.
Costly weekend for those boys. So the race start is just over 10 minutes away now. Time for us to take a very quick break. Welcome back to the studio. We can cross now to Illinois and hear from the lead drivers at the track.
What's the key for you to leave here today as an IndyCar champion?
You know, I'm going to have as much fun I can. I'm going to race with my heart, passion, what I do, you know, and I hope it'll be the day. If you're meant to be, it will be.
Roger Penske's all about teamwork, but at what point today do you and Sam Hornish stop being teammates and start being ferocious competitors?
I hope not. Obviously, the first 100 laps, we have to be smart. We have two other guys also battling for the championship, so we need to work together until that. But I think the last 50 laps, the last 40 laps, you're going to start escalating the nerves, and you'll be a great show.
Hey, good luck today.
Thank you.
Hey, win or lose, Elio Castroneves and teammate Sam Hornish already have a lot to celebrate this year.
Hornish Jr., that Indy 500 win was the missing piece in the puzzle, but I wonder, Sam, a third championship, where would that rank?
Maybe we start a new puzzle. I don't know. This has been pretty much an unbelievable season for us to be able to win the 500, to come into this last race of the year with an opportunity to win the points. I can't really put into words right now what it would mean to win the championship. I'm out here with a bunch of great competitors, and especially today against 3 guys that are going to be extremely tough on this mile-and-a-half oval. Haven't ever seen 4-wide racing, but maybe that'll happen here before the end of the day. These guys are all being pretty aggressive, and hopefully I'll make the right decisions to bring Marvel Team Penske a championship.
Good luck to you, Sam, but I want to know, when the fact that you're chasing people for a championship, it's one thing. When you're chasing your teammate, it's another. How does that dynamic come into play today?
Basically the same things, except you obviously you don't ever want to go out of the race, but you really don't want to go out of the race with your teammate. So we're going to try to be as smart as we possibly can today, and make sure that we both make good decisions, and hopefully we'll get out of here with a victory and a championship.
That's Marlboro Team Penske 1 and 2, but there are 2 other red cars in the chase for the championship, led by the defending national champion.
Dan Weldon in Victory Circle. It was the first race of the season. Here we are, Dan, the last race. How important is it for you to cross that finish line first?
Well, first of all, do you like my attire for this?
Yes, you're looking marvelous.
Pretty special, huh? It's obviously very important for me to win this race if I need any chance of winning the championship, and that's what I'm going to have to do. There's been a few races we've just had that I've had to be careful to keep myself in the championship chase, but I'm not going to be doing that this time. It's all out.
Well, you can hear Dan Weldon.
Well, Scott Dixon, of the 4 horses in this race today, you have the farthest to go. You're 21 points back. What kind of risk are you willing to take today to win it all?
No, I think it's not so much risk. It's just we've got to be aggressive. We've got to try and lead laps. We've got to stay near the front. Both of the 2 target cars, we're 19 and 21 points out. So we've got to push as hard as we can without crashing, obviously, and try and take the win from the Penskes and hopefully get the bonus points, and maybe we come away with it.
Hey, good luck to you.
Thanks.
So that's how the drivers are feeling. It's all finally poised here. So let's cross back to the States and join our commentators, Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
Just 3 years ago, in 2003, Scott Dixon and Helio Castroneves were tied going into the last race of the season. Tony Kanaan was 3rd in the points, and of course it was Dixon that won that championship. So today, Castroneves goes in with a 1-point advantage. So we must think about how it's possible to lose a championship.
Well, exactly. And those 2 teammates have got to be really on edge. I mean, I know that Roger Penske and Rick Mears have talked to them, told them they have to run smart. That was the words that they used. And, of course, that's the words that I'm sure both of those guys have told them. But when it comes down to the end, when it comes down to those last 50 laps or 30 laps, they are going to be going for it.
Klein Tools number 27, A.J. Foyt IV in that car. As you perhaps well know by now, it was the concussion and head injury to...
for Franchitti, he's out of the race.
There we go. That was a Goodwood.
So Foyt is in there, and he out-qualified all of his teammates.
He did. He out-qualified the other members of the Andretti Green Bunch, and has not been in the car for a year now. So Foyt will be starting back in the 6th row in the 11th starting position. But the cream does rise to the surface. The 4 guys battling for the championship, starting in the first 4 positions. Sam Hornish, his 4th pole position of the year, just trailing his teammate by 1 point. There's Scott Dixon. He's 4th in the points now. He's a 2-time winner so far this season. In the 2nd row, the other 2 guys battling for the championship. Dan Weldon, he won the opener at Homestead. Leo Castroneves, of course, with his 4 victories, now leads by 1 marker. One of those 4 will be the champion. We move now to the 3rd row on the inside. The champion from back in '96, the co-champion with Buzz Calkins, Scott Sharp. Will start alongside Vito Mira. Vitor 6th we'll make that 5th in the point standings. His 60th start, still looking for his first victory. In the 4th row, Thomas Schechter. Until last race, he was the last rookie to win. And of course, that victory came in his rookie season at Michigan. And Koski Matsur will start outside the 4th row. In the 5th row, Buddy Rice will be looking for other employment next year. Probably his last race for Ray Hall Letterman. And the fastest rookie qualifier, Jeff Simmons, will be his teammate also, starting outside that row. And there is A.J. Foyt IV. Now, he's not raced in a year in this type of competition. Qualifies his Andretti Green teammates. Eddie Carpenter starts outside the 6th row. Tony Kanaan starting 13th. Worst starting position of the season for Tony Kanaan. He was also 13th starting at Kansas. And there's Marco, fresh off his victory on the road course at Infineon 2 weeks ago outside row 7. In the 8th row on the inside, look at that. First time we saw them together was a couple of races back at Kentucky. They started side by side, Danica and Sarah. Danica's last race for Ray Hall Letterman. She moves on to Andretti Green next season. Sarah, of course, still looking for a full-time ride for next season. Jeff Bucknam starts inside row 9, driving for A.J. Foyt. Brian Herta, his last ride on the oval, perhaps. He says he's going to run road races next year for Andretti Green. And Marty Roth will occupy row 10.
Well, we'll see what happens. It looks like, of course, all the main players start up front. This race distance, 724 kilometers, 200 laps. The pit window, 53 to 55 laps. Some of these guys, we've always seen them stretch it a little farther, but it's going to be very important to make good, clean, quick pit stops if you're in that top 4 today.
Well, once again, the advantage of the guys up in front, because they do have those 3 bonus points, and those 3 points could determine who wins this overall championship.
Well, absolutely. When it's this close, 18 degrees, 18-kilometer wind. That might be a factor because the wind does pick up here from time to time. And of course, it is very cloudy. There is a good chance for rain. It is going to rain again today. We just don't know when.
So, will it rain before 100 laps or after 200 laps? A good overhead helicopter shot, the first 2 rows.
Yeah, these guys green this time around, and you can see those red and white cars dominate the first 2 rows.
Here they come off the corner. 200 laps to go through the 18-degree banking. They head for turn 1.
Wow, Scott Dixon got a great start. Looks like he's going to lead going into turn 1.
Looks like Weldon got a pretty good start too, and the Ganassi cars are running 1-2. Now, is this a plan by the Penske drivers to not be quite as aggressive? These 2 guys out in front running 1-2 have to win the race. Penske drivers don't.
No, they can finish in the top 3, but if they let both of those guys run 1 and 2, that means one of them is on the outside looking in.
So Dixon leads the first lap with Weldon right behind him. And when this season is over, if Weldon doesn't win the championship, he can look back and say it was because of pit work.
Right.
Things that happened in the pit area cost him the championship.
Well, don't forget, Scott Dixon had trouble at Sonoma with pit work. And
that was his race to win.
Right, and that was a mechanical problem. It wasn't any problem that the team did. Boy, those guys are running close. They don't want to take each other out this early. But look at Hornish. She's right there with them.
Well, Dixon leads lap 1, and Weldon takes over on lap 2.
Boy, those guys are getting
Dixon comes back around on lap 3. And at this point in time, Sam Hornish saying, you know, I think I'll just stay back here a safe distance. These 2 guys are going to take each other out.
Well, he got right up there behind him, and then he kind of moved back. And you can see those cars do move around, and you can see right there again. It looks like they just kind of jump sideways 6 or 8 inches. When you're running that close, you could touch very easily. Gaston Evans is the guy who kind of got out of the throttle and says, I don't think I'm going to mix it up with those guys right at this point in the race.
Now, Dixon led lap 1. His teammate led lap 2. And Dixon leads lap 3. And now down the backstretch, it's Weldon by about a half car length.
Boy, and Hornish, he wants to go 3 wide. I think he's sitting there in his race car saying, do I listen to those guys? Do I be smart, or do I? Nope, I'm just going to go out there anyway. What the heck?
Yeah, but keep in mind, though, with the rain we had overnight, it may have washed off some rubber. There may not be a 3rd groove up there right now.
Well, right, and I'm not sure you want to experiment with that at this early stage. Maybe at lap 90 you do, but boy, this early, I'm not sure.
Look at Matsura. Matsura up to 4th position now. He started back in 8th.
Well, and he's pretty much been confirmed as the driver for that car next year. Fernandez is pretty much already confirmed that he's going to run for him again. So he's not one of the drivers who's fighting for his job. There are other drivers out there, though, who are fighting for their jobs next year. And look at this. Scott Sharp is on the inside, and he might be one of those guys that is fighting for a job for next year.
Well, there's some thought that he may leave the Fernandez team as he goes on the inside of his teammate. So we have teammates running 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 right now.
Boy, these guys, this is the kind of racing we've grown accustomed to on these mile-and-a-halves. We haven't seen it a lot this year. And look at that. So close going through that corner. And Weldon just doesn't even flinch. He just stays right there.
But they need those 3 bonus points.
Well, they do need
to lead as many laps as they can.
And that's one of the reasons those 2 guys are fighting so hard.
Man, so work off the corner to complete lap 7 as you take a look at the points right now. But you can throw that out because we've got a long way to go before we start talking about the championship.
Right, but look at that. If they finish like this, Weldon will only be 3 points out. So, you know, Hornish has got to stay. And look at this.
Look at Castro now. It's the first to make it 3 wide down the backstretch.
He went clear down. He got close to being down below that thing. But now then we see Kanan up there in the mix. So a huge, huge battle up here for first place. And remember, the championship is only for these 4 guys. Everybody else wants to win this race.
So who's going to be the spoiler?
Well, Anybody could be the spoiler. That's the real problem for the guys that are running up front. You know, if Scott Sharp or Tony Kanaan get in there, or Matsura, it could be a big problem for those guys. They have to win.
Well, the Ganassi teammates have run side by side, and one or the other has led every lap. Now 9 laps of 200 complete. Dixon led the first lap, Weldon led the second lap, Dixon led laps 3 and 4, and since then Weldon has had his nose out in front, and that's what I just mean, his nose only.
Yeah, and look at this, the same thing. Every time they go down the straightaways, Weldon, that's the thing that Sam Hornish has learned over the years. You might lose, but you get a little bit of a slingshot off of the corners, and the only place that's important is right at that line. If you're in front going across that start-finish line.
And that's the only place right now Weldon is leading.
Exactly. Every place else he's falling back. But he gets that little slingshot. He keeps the RPMs up a little more coming off the corner, and he runs faster down the straightaway. There he is down the back straightaway. Again, in front in the straightaway, behind in the corners. Well, in this kind of racing, the only place that counts is to be in front in the straightaway.
Let's see if he gets that nose out in front. He does again. And he stays out in front. Dixon is second, Hornish third, Matsura is fourth, Kanaan is fifth. Then Sharp has dropped back to sixth. Seventh is Castro-Neves, so he drops from the second row back to seventh position. And we have a yellow on the racetrack.
Well, I think, I think everybody, I've been told a couple of cars made some contact on the racetrack, and so they thought there
was Thomas Schechter in the 2 car, and the 4 car of Vito Mira actually made some contact, but both continue on.
Well, they were still on the racetrack. I think when they made the contact, it appeared that there might be some problems, so they threw the yellow right away. And we'll take a look and see how much contact they made. Well, there was 3
on the high side.
There were 3 wide. Thomas
4
Schechter
wide.
just moved up, and there was big time contact. I can see why the guy on the yellow button hit it. He thought sure there was going to be a huge crash there, as you can see Schechter had no idea he was out there. He moved up the racetrack, and bam, those guys did a terrific job, both of them, not to be in the wall right there.
Was that a terrific job of driving or just luck?
Well, a lot of them. You can see one of the mirrors came off. The wheel got up in there so far, that was a mirror off of one of those race cars that was laying on the racetrack.
So our first yellow of the afternoon, we had 3 yellows in 03, the fewest yellow periods. We had 6 in 2004.
Wow. Well, that just shows you how intense the competition is out there. I mean, those guys are running 3 and maybe even 4 abreast back there in the back. They're trying to move towards the front, and contact was made. Wow. Well, there's only 13 laps in, but the pits are open. This will be an interesting strategy. You're probably going to see.
Well, you're going to see some come in.
Looks like all the guys are not going to take a chance. They're going to come in when they get a chance, especially the guys up front. And you're going to see some of the people in the back who are going to stay out there and try to get off sequence and
get
somehow
some track position.
Well, get some track position and maybe make it to the halfway. Not knowing the weather, we don't know what's going to happen there.
Once again, under yellow, Weldon leads Dixon. Hornish is third. Matsura is fourth. Then Kanaan, Castro-Neves as they all peel off and head for pit lane. Sharp is now seventh. Eighth is Marco Andretti. Ninth is Vito Mira. 10th is Thomas Schechter. Ed Carpenter is 11th.
Come around, Ricky.
Buddy Rice is 12th.
Keep coming. Come around, Ricky. Keep coming. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Focus on Dave.
Okay, we're listening to Dixon.
Clear.
Weldon, I'm sorry.
Just a spot of fuel.
Well, that was interesting. Everybody just took fuel that time, quickly in and out.
The tires were laid out. They opted not to take the tires. They take fuel only.
Well, that's an interesting call. I wonder how many of them knew what the other guys were doing, or if they all thought they were going to get the huge advantage right there.
They all had the same strategy. I'll come in and make it look like I'm taking a full pit stop and only take on fuel, but they all did the very same thing. So the first yellow of the afternoon as those gray clouds hang overhead. Goodwood Festival last weekend in England. He crashed a vintage Jaguar. He is here to support his teammates, but obviously was not cleared to compete. Right away they start to look their way by, and that'll put Weldon back up in front.
And look at this. Look at Kanaan clear on the outside, trying to make it 3 wide out there.
And he does.
thinks better of it.
And there's Castroneves from the back of the pack as he starts to make his way toward the front. Going to the number 20 of Ed Carpenter. So he moves up to 13th position.
He's already made his way around about 3 or 4 drivers on his way to the front. But boy, it just makes it that much harder and puts that much more pressure on you when you have a mistake like that and you have to go to the back and work that hard.
Well, Weldon, his teammate Dixon, both in must-win situations here if they're to take the championship. Keep in mind that Dixon won that race 2 weeks ago in Infineon. He'd be about 3 points out of the lead coming into this race, but that pit stop took him out of contention for the win. Dan Weldon, who won the championship last year, switched teams, won the opening race at Homestead, and appeared to be well on his way of defending his title. Had lots of problems in the pit area this season. It really cost him perhaps the shot at the championship. Castroneves continues to make his way through traffic right there in front of Ed Carpenter. He's got a long way to go. The next car to pass will be Thomas Schechter. Danica Patrick is up in 11th position right now. Her teammate Buddy Rice in 10th. And the third teammate of that organization, Greg Hall Letterman, is in 9th. So the 3 teammates, Simmons, Rice, and Patrick, 9th, 10th, 11th on the racetrack. And up in front, it's the Target Chip Ganassi teammates of Dan Weldon and Scott Dixon running 1 and 2.
And you talked earlier about how important those 3 points might be to lead the most laps. Remember that graphic we saw a little earlier? Weldon was 3 points out of the lead as it stood. Those 3 points would tie him right now.
Well, there's Castroneves back in 13th position.
And he has a ways to go to catch up with the next group of cars. He's kind of pulling Eddie Carpenter along with him. Meanwhile, back up front, the other 3 guys are hanging right in there. Hornish and Weldon would be tied at this point. Dixon would be 15 points back, so that's a huge, huge gain for Dan Weldon right now.
Well, Weldon, of course, has won 15 bonus points by leading the most laps in 5 different races, and that's part of the frustration for Dan and the crew. He's led the most laps in 5 different races, but he's only won 1.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You can. Hornish back there wants so badly to get up there and mix it up, but at the same time he's trying to be a little bit conservative, a little bit careful. He hasn't taken any of the chances that he's so famous for right now. But I think as this race goes
a little early in the race for those chances.
And I think that's exactly what he's thinking. You know, you have to go back to the old saying: you have to finish first, and that's what he's thinking about. Now for Weldon, the only way he can finish first is to win the race and lead the most laps and hope they have some trouble, and he's going for it.
Well, right now he has led the most laps. So it's Weldon and his teammate Dixon 1-2. Hornish is 3rd. Kanaan is 4th. Sharp now back up to 5th position. Koski Matsura is 6th, and Marco Andretti is 7th. Once again, Marco on these ovals, never qualifying that strongly. But once they put some downforce in that car and he goes racing, he's competitive.
Yeah, Marco Andretti's moved up to 7th, so he's moved up slowly but steadily.
About to take 6th from Matsura.
And he's not very happy right there, as he thought Matsura might have cut him off a little bit. And you could see
downshifted.
He had to lift, and look how much ground he lost, and is still losing just because he had to lift that very, very slight amount going through that little dog leg up there on the front straightaway.
You've seen more shifting the last couple of years.
Well, it's because the torque range on these engines is so narrow. They're only really good in about a 600 RPM range. So if you lose that 600 RPMs, if you get down to about 9,800 RPMs, then you've got to shift in order to get that car back up to where it's really, really the fastest.
That's exactly what I was going to say, but you're the expert commentator, so I yielded to you.
Well, you know, and that's why, you know, the
you're running, what, 2 or 3 top gears anyway on these cars?
Yeah, they run 2 top gears, and on occasion I've seen guys run 3, not very often.
There's Elio, who's now in 9th position. That's Jeff Simmons right in front of him. He goes to the high side. Simmons will top rookie qualifier so far this season, but of course the Bombardier Rookie of the Year $50,000 award has already been clinched by young Marco. As you see, Castroneves from the high side moves into 8th position. Make that 7th now.
Yeah, so he's moved his way back up quite a bit from that restart. He's passed a lot of cars here in just a few laps.
And up in front now on lap 30, it's still Dan Weldon and his teammate Scott Dixon. Hornish watch the action from 3rd position. Keep an eye on Castroneves. Once again, went to the back of the pack on that restart because he was too fast under the yellow entering the pit lane.
Well, you know that Castroneves can be very emotional. We've mostly seen him very calm, cool, and collected, with always a smile on his face. But boy, you know, when he gets emotional, he gets really emotional. I'm sure he was mad at himself a lot after that pit stop and after being told he had to go to the back.
Was he speaking English or Portuguese?
Probably Portuguese most of the time.
Broken English and Portuguese inside the helmet. Well, you watch him run now single file. They had been running side by side before that yellow. And Sam has a bird's eye view of what's transpiring in front of him. Sam does not have to get those 3 bonus points to lead the most laps. These guys do, and he has to be conservative right now. This is probably the most conservative we've seen Sam run when he's this close to the front.
Well, that's right, and of course he's got the 2 Ganassi guys up there, and right now Dixon is quite content to kind of run interference. Whenever Hornish got up there and kind of made a run, he moved out car width out so that Hornish would have to go real wide to go around him, and Hornish just didn't want to do that.
Well, of course, these 3 have pulled away to a 3.5-second advantage over Scott Sharp, who rides in 4th position. Tony Kanaan now is 5th. Matsura is 6th. 7th is Marco, and 8th is Elio.
And those guys have fallen back quite a ways. And there's Chip Ganassi, of course, the owner of the 2 leading cars right now. And he's a guy that's intensely competitive. He wants to beat Roger Penske so bad he can taste it. And today would be sweet revenge if he could do that.
Well, it's been a trying season at times for the Ganassi team. Of course, they had a very trying season last year with that Toyota power plant before they moved to Honda this year. So 33 laps, and the teammates are running 1-2. Of course, you look back there at Scott Sharp in 4th position. He's probably trying to audition for a ride for next year. There is some thought that he could move, well, we won't say which team, but will probably move away from the team he's driving for now.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing, that he's thinking of moving. And, you know, that's just something, ooh, look at, I think he went up there and tested the waters up a little higher that time and didn't like it, moved back down. But
Castroneves right now back in 7th position. Yeah, he's 4.7 seconds behind the leader.
And he's catching Matsura though, so he is running fast. He's running just as well as he ever did. It's just that he had a long way to go from dead last to catch up with those guys.
Well, there's Koski Matsura. He will come back with Fernandez Racing next year. It is thought that Fernandez will bring a different driver into this team to replace Scott Sharp. Perhaps a Mexican driver with sponsorship from Mexico.
Well, of course, Fernandez is a very loyal,
very popular down there,
and very popular, and would like nothing better than to, get a Mexican driver back into this series. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can do that or not, because a lot of it will depend on sponsorship. No matter whether you like it or not, it's a fact of IndyCar racing. You've got to have the sponsors to make things work.
Castroneves there in that 4-car draft moves to the high side, trying to get that position away from Matsura, and that would put him in 6th position.
Looks like he's put that thing in overdrive. Look at that. He just pulls up beside Kanaan, like Kanaan's in 3rd gear instead of 6th.
And they've been racing like that since they were racing karts as kids back in Brazil.
Yeah, there's a little tiff between those 2 right now, though. They weren't happy with each other after Sonoma.
Now, right now, Dan Weldon up in front. You see looking off the back at his teammate, riding in 2nd position, Scott Dixon. We are live from Chicagoland as you ride, looking back from your lead car. Dan Weldon back to his teammate, Scott Dixon. Sam Hornish rides in 3rd, then a big gap back to 4th position. 4th now Scott Sharp, but Castroneves has now moved into 6th position. He had been running alongside Kanaan. Kanaan kind of glanced over and said, this ain't going to happen. Yeah, you're not passing me now.
He caught Kanaan so quickly, pulled up beside him. I thought he was just going to blow on by him, but once he got up there, it was like Kanaan all of a sudden realized that he couldn't let that happen, and he took off. But it was very, very quickly that he caught him and pulled up beside him. Kanaan must have gotten out of the throttle or something, because he really caught him in about a lap.
Now you see they look at the speed the last time between these 2 drivers as they battle for 5th position. And this battle goes on about 5.5 seconds behind your leader. So in the last 4 or 5 laps, Castroneves has cut about 2 seconds off that gap between 1st place and the position he's running in.
And he would very dearly like to get by there and catch up with that lead pack. Right now, he's got his hands full. Both Scott Sharp and Kanaan running very quick out there today.
Kanaan, a past champion. Okay, Kanaan could let him go by. But if there is some bad blood, he could be a spoiler right here at this junction of the race.
Well, and last week, Castroneves thought, like, with the championship at stake, Kanaan should have let him go. And we're seeing very much the same thing here. Kanaan did not let him go. His teammates leading the race. He wasn't going to let Castroneves go up there and challenge him. And he raced him. He raced him hard. He raced him clean. Raced him fair. But Castroneves was a little bit upset with him. Like you said, they've been friends for a long time. But
interesting stat right there. The Team Penske, the winningest team in open wheel competition, has never won an Indy Racing League championship. They won in USAC, and the national championship was sanctioned by USAC, and then by CART, but never with the Indy Racing League.
It is pretty remarkable that they haven't won, and Roger will tell you. So that's exactly why we hired Sam Hornick. He was a winner. He was a champion. We knew he could bring us a championship, so we hired him. And
Castroneves won the Indy 500 his first year and his second year, but yet he's not won a championship.
Phenomenal record that he had there at Indianapolis to win the first 2 years.
And finished second the third year, behind DeFerrin.
It's unbelievable, really.
Well, you also think about the 4 guys vying for the championship. 3 have won past championships. Harnish has won 2, but yet Castroneves still looking for his first. And he's still looking for a way around Kanaan right now.
Look at this gaggle of cars. This is 4th through about 8th. And they're all just nose to tail.
And they're running about 5 seconds. Now about 6 seconds behind your lead pack, the first 3. And all this is doing is allowing these other guys to catch up with them.
Yeah. When they're running.
Look at Carpenter up there in 7th position. Now, there's the points right now. And look at that. Hornish and Whelan still tied.
Yeah. That's unbelievable statistic that those 2 guys could still be. Couldn't hear exactly what he said.
Well, back up in front. There are your top 3. Weldon took the lead from Foyt after that restart on lap 16, so he's led the last 30 laps. They're working on lap 47 right now. Scott Dixon in 2nd, Hornish is 3rd, and then you drop back 6 seconds to Scott Sharp in 4th position.
Yeah, so we got the first.
And there's Marty Roth out in front of them, so they'll be lapping Marty here momentarily.
First 3, and then the next 6 or 7
the rest
altogether.
of the field, basically.
Yeah. And it's amazing that those 3 guys, I mean, we've seen it pretty much all year long, but we also talked about Castroneves having a little more trouble in traffic than Hornish has had. And again, we're seeing that. He got around a lot of the slower cars real quick. But when he caught these guys that are running pretty fast, he's had a lot of trouble with Kanaan.
Well, Ganassi team members have led 32.7% of the race laps this season coming in. But they've led the majority of them here this afternoon. Penske Racing, Hornish has led 28%, and Castroneves 19.4%, for a total of over 47% of all the laps led by the Penske gang.
Well, they haven't led a lap here today, which is, I think most people would find pretty surprising, but I find it not surprising in the fact that they are trying to win a championship.
But see, on the track, though, Larry, we've seen how competitive the Ganassi guys have been. Where Weldon has lost the championship, he does not win this thing. He lost it in the pit lane.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that he's had at least 2 races that he should have won, which would be 20 points, which would virtually put him in a tie if he hadn't had trouble in the pit area.
Well, the one race he wasn't close enough to the inside wall, and the hose wouldn't reach the car.
And that was his mistake.
That was his
the
fault.
other 2 were problems with it.
Mechanical problems. You lose drop a wheel nut.
Exactly, wheel nuts and so forth. And actually Dixon last race, that wasn't his fault or the crew's fault. I mean, when you have a jack that fails, and it was 3 of the 4 went up, the left front didn't go up far enough, and so it took him an extra 6 or 8 seconds, and it cost him the race.
But so often, Larry, we watch Chip Ganassi, so often we talk about how vital the pit stops are, and you can win or lose a race in the pit area. And I don't think we really comprehend just how many things can go wrong. We see these guys come in, they make a 15-second pit stop, they change tires, top off the fuel, and they're gone. And it just looks like we expect it time and time again. So many little elements can go wrong.
Exactly. And those guys, I mean, when they call this a team sport, those guys are teammates. Because if any one of them mess up, it can cost them the race. And as we talk about that, look at Castroneves. He just won't give up on that outside. We've seen it happen time after time after time. You run like that, You can get a little bit in front down the straightaways, and then you fall behind in the corners.
You think he may have something to say to Kanaan when this race is over?
I don't know. I mean, this is exactly what we saw at Sonoma, and he was not happy there. So it could be. They've been longtime friends, but when it comes to championships and winning races.
Well, see, in running side by side, your top three are running nose to tail. They are pulling away. What had been a 5-second gap between first back to this battle is now over 8 seconds.
Yeah. And this guy's all, you know, they're just hoping that sometime during the race will be a yellow and they can catch back up. That's what they're counting on.
And look at this. This is the same battle you're watching from onboard Marco as Marco goes by the inside of Ed Carpenter, and that's for position. So Marco goes to 7th, and you're watching that battle. Looks like Kanaan is Castroneves. It looked like Castroneves had the pass made, but not so.
Castroneves, it looked like he tried to intimidate him a little bit. Looked like he was around far enough. He tried to pull down. He wasn't up far enough.
You're not going to intimidate Kanaan.
Tried to, you know, a little bit of gamesmanship going on there. That's pretty close gamemanship at this kind of speed.
Here comes Carpenter around the high side to regain that position from Andretti.
Oh, right there. He finally did. He got around far enough that he pulled down. And look at the front end. It took off on Kanaan. He's going to lose another spot.
Yeah, here comes Carpenter for another position as you watch from high above Chicagoland Speedway with 55 of 200 laps now complete. Wash out and almost created a big crash. 9.4 in the pit stop. Now this could be a lucky break. He's off sequence. Sometimes this will play in your on your behalf.
Sometimes it does. That's the reason he won the race. He made his fuel mileage last while everybody else was in the pits. Let's take a look exactly what happened. He's right behind Tony Kanaan going down into turn number 3. And he just shifted the air. All of a sudden it took off way up the racetrack.
And that was Eddie Carpenter on the high side.
Carpenter who got around him. Simmons went by on the inside. And you can see right there, something's just not right. Too many cars going around. He knew that something was wrong. You got to believe it must have been a tire because they came in, changed tires, and sent him back out.
Well, the youngster did a nice job of keeping that thing out of trouble.
Well, he sure did, because that thing, it just took off up the racetrack. It went 2 car widths up the racetrack. How Eddie Carpenter missed him, I don't know, because he was clear up in the gray. Didn't seem to get any of the marbles on his tires and collect the fence, though. Just kept on going.
Now Marco drops back to 18th position now.
Yeah, and that's, you know, he lost a lap doing that, and that was a tough break.
Well, we could have the leader in the pit, and he's peeling off. Indeed he is. That will give the lead back to his teammate Dixon. So Weldon led for a lot of laps from lap 16 through 64. So right now he has those 3 bonus points, and that's exactly what he needs.
Okay, Dan. Take a deep breath here, nice and easy. Come in, you're going to come around Mira. Peel it off ahead of you, come around Mira. Here we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, he pulls in, he's close enough.
Focus on Dave.
Dave is the right front charger.
Well, that's nearly perfect.
He was very slow in the pits that time. He looked very slow into the pits, making absolutely certain he didn't overshoot the pits.
Yeah, because that's at least a drive-through penalty on speed in the pit lane.
Yep. He was being very, very careful.
We've had 1 yellow. Sam Hornish also heads for the pit lane, so that leaves Dixon as our only lead car to yet make that pit stop. Had the 1 yellow back on lap 12 when there was contact between the 4 car and the 2 car between Scheckter and Mira, but no accident, and the race continued.
None of these guys are pushing the envelope. They're all pitting at the first part of their pit window. They don't want to stay out there and take a chance on running out of fuel.
And so Sam is away in 2 and 10.2 seconds. So we await the pit stop of Dixon, and Dixon is headed for the pit lane.
That's a fairly slow pit stop.
As instructions, you hear the radio communication for Dixon.
Concentrate on Rick. Okay, you're clear.
That was a good pit stop. Everything according to schedule, so when everything gets shaken out here, we'll see who had the best pit stops in and out. But it appeared that Hornish lost a little bit of time that time in the pit exchange.
All back on board with Weldon, who right now has those 3 bonus points. Whoa, and he goes flying by his teammate.
Yep, Dixon trying to get back up to speed.
And so we'll see how this shakes through, as a number of the drivers are actually off sequence. Obviously, Foyt's off sequence, as is Marco Andretti.
Well, Hornish shouldn't have too bad a pit stop. He's still right behind Weldon, so that's exactly where he wanted to be. And Dixon came out in 3rd. So all of those guys, good pit stops and right back pretty much where they were before. Castroneves didn't gain any ground. I mean, he was already 10 seconds or so behind. He came out, he's 11 seconds behind now.
He's in 4th position, though.
Yeah, in 4th, but still.
So yellow would bunch them up. He'd be right back with the lead pack.
And that's, you know, that's what he's going to have to count on. Hornish was really the big winner in that exchange because he did gain 1 spot, and that's what he was hoping for.
So we have completed 70 of 200 scheduled laps, with Weldon now over Hornish. Dixon, Castroneves, Scott Sharp is 5th, and it's Tony Kanaan, Jeff Simmons, Buddy Rice, and Koski Matsura. So Weldon has led by far the most laps here this afternoon. They've made their 2nd pit stop. The first one came during that first and early yellow on lap 12. So 1 more pit stop, maybe, probably 2.
Yeah, probably 2.
Well, we'll likely have another yellow, I would think.
Yeah, they're probably going to have to make 2. Boy, if they made it on 1, it'd have to be another one of those really squeaky
an economy
deals.
run.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see it. Not on this kind of a racetrack where you're flat out.
Of course, remember they're running on 10% ethanol this season, and next season it's all ethanol.
And what we really don't know is what the fuel mileage is going to be with the ethanol. If you go by regular automobiles, they cuts their fuel mileage essentially by about 10 to 15%. So if that's the case, they'll be able to run fewer laps and be making more pit stops next year than they will this year. But we don't really know what the relationship is to methanol versus gasoline.
Well, they pull up on A.J. Foyt. No, that's Carpenter. That's Carpenter. They're changed shots on us. Foyt was about to be put a lap down. Foyt led during that yellow period when he did not make the pit stop, and all the leaders did.
And you see Matsura back there in that mix trying to get around. It's Matsura in the 55 car. Carpenter
the battle
right
back in
him.
8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. We're back with all the live action from the 14th and final race of the season from Chicagoland Speedway. Gary Lee, Larry Rice. And it all comes down to this event, with only 1 point separating the first 2 in the point standings coming in. But right now, it has been all Team Ganassi, as those guys have led virtually all the laps here this afternoon. And right now, Weldon is leading Penske driver Hornish. And Hornish goes to the high side again, looking for that higher groove, but yet not willing to push it.
Well, I think he's just testing a little bit right now. He's just running out there to see what he might have to do later in the race. Right now, though, if he finishes in 2nd, he's going to win the championship, and he has to be thinking about that too. And I'm sure when it gets closer to the end, if he starts taking a little too many chances, they'll remind him of that. You know, you don't have to win this race to win the championship. If he was to finish exactly like this, he would still win the championship.
And Penske at this point would rather have the championship than the win. He'd like to have both of them if possible without taking the special risk. He wants the championship.
And quite honestly, Sam Hornish would love to give him his first championship. He would that would really kind of seal his deal here. But look at Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon has been the fastest car on the racetrack the last 3 or 4 laps, and he's reeled these guys in pretty quick.
Well, keep in mind when you talk about Hornish wanting to give the boss, the captain, a championship, Hornish and all the line of great drivers that Penske's had, he was the first driver to win a race for Roger Penske in his debut event.
That's pretty amazing because he's had some terrific drivers over the years. Right now, though, Scott Dixon could be the spoiler in this whole thing, and he knows that. He's going to try to get up there. He's got really nothing to lose by getting in there and mixing it up with Sam Hornish. So we'll see what they want to do. They're 78 laps into this race. So, you know, we'll see how badly he wants to get up there and move into that 2nd spot. Because it looks like they're coming up on some more lap traffic.
And I can believe there are no team orders when it comes to the Target Ganassi team.
No, those guys.
Now it's lead as many laps as you can and win the race.
Right. And of course, with the laps that Weldon has led, he probably, I mean, Dixon probably knows that his teammate has the best shot right now to win that championship. And if, if team orders mean anything, he might help him win that championship.
Well, we've got a glimpse of Vitor Mira there, who's laboring back in 13th position.
Yeah, I think that contact caused
some damage of some kind.
It did some damage. He's not been nearly as quick since that. He was running up in the lead pack the whole time.
Look as we drop back, looking for fourth position, looking for Elio. This is the gap back to fourth. Where is he? Look at that gap back to fourth position.
Yeah, he's way, way back there now, and it's a long way back.
12 and a half seconds between first and fourth.
And he's actually lost about 1 second since the pit stops. But the reason being, he's out there all by himself. He's pushing all that air. And look at this. Weldon now, just because Hornish moved into second, he's 5 points behind. So Castroneves is only 7, and he's back and forth. So it's still anybody's ball game amongst those three.
Look at that gaggle of cars.
Yeah,
as the leaders are coming up on them, so traffic could play a vital role in this racetrack this afternoon.
It is going to play a vital role before it's all over. There's no question about it. Mira's catching that pack, and they're catching Mira, so it could all come together right at a very bad time for all these guys that are running 1, 2, 3.
Another 10 laps. We're going to have the entire field together on the racetrack.
Yeah, and I'm sure that already Weldon, in his mind, is trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, because it's going to be important for him to catch those guys, be able to maneuver without getting out of the throttle. That's going to be the real key thing. If you have to lift just slightly, just a quarter throttle, it costs you a lot of momentum on the racetrack.
Well, if his teammate could get around, here's Vitor. Let's see if Vitor lets him by. If his teammate gets around Hornish and they run like this to the finish, Weldon's going to win this thing.
Yeah. And Vitor's moved up the racetrack a little bit. Not in that corner, but down there in the main straightaway, he moved up. So we'll see. Weldon has caught him now, so we'll see what Vitor does. If he stays on the bottom, Weldon's going to have no choice
but to go around the top side.
Go around the outside. And it looks like Mira's going to do that. He's going to stay tucked right on the very bottom of the racetrack, give him the outside. But Weldon having trouble so far moving out there and getting around. Now he gets a little bit of a slingshot.
Mira, of course, finished second on 7 occasions, but still looking for his first win. He goes around Marty Roth. But look at this line of cars up in front of him.
And see, Mira was in a bad situation right there because he had Weldon on the outside. Sam Hornish coming up, and he's coming up on Marty Roth, who looked like he's running about half speed of everybody else.
Well, Dixon has yet to make that pass on Hornish. They're still tucked in behind Mira.
There's 8 cars in front of them, though, and they got to get around, and those cars are running side by side. This is going to be a very critical time for all 3 of these guys.
And of course, the best guy in that bunch in traffic is in that number 6 car.
Wow, Weldon moved 3 wide. He moved to the outside of Thomas Scheckter, and Scheckter got out of, looked like he got out of the throttle a little bit and moved back in behind, so they only had to be 2 wide. Now then Hornish goes to the inside. These guys are really doing a good job in traffic. I mean, it's difficult to choose right every time. But so far, Weldon has just kept after it.
And he's going to have Carpenter out in front of him where they're running 2 wide.
Yeah, and Carpenter's running on the outside, and that's not a good thing for Weldon as he does away with Matsura. Remember, these guys are racing each other while those guys are racing for the lead.
Working on lap 90 of the scheduled 200. So we're only about 10 laps away from this thing being a completed race should the rain return.
Here comes Dixon, who seems to be having a little more trouble getting through there. He caught him at a worse time than everybody else. They're now really side by side, and Dixon is caught back there with no place to go. What a tough break for him.
Yeah, you saw Hornish pull up on the rear wing of Weldon.
Yeah, and you can see Dixon's just stuck. He's in behind Mira. Mira got back around him on the outside because he got stuck on
shift
the
gears.
inside.
Now Mira's going to stay on the high side. He can duck to the inside, but still he has a track block in front of him.
There's Danica. We're riding along with Danica Patrick right now. So.
As Matsura went around her, she's back in 11th position. And again, she is in her last ride for Rahal Letterman. She'll move over to the Andretti Green stable next season. We wonder if this is an audition by A.J. Foyt IV. There had been some speculation that, as Herta has said, he's not going to return to oval track racing next year. Some speculation that Franchitti might say the same thing. But in fact, Franchitti's dad, after his injury last week, said he's going to retire. But that may have been wishful thinking on the part of a father wanting his son to retire, because so far Franchitti has made no indication this week that he was thinking in those terms. Slow the field, he'd have a lot of lap cars between third place and fourth place.
Right, because he's not out of this this championship yet. He still is very, very close to those first two guys, but he doesn't have a chance if he's half a lap behind him.
Well, he is the only guy in the four vying for the championship that has yet to win an IRL championship. Of course, Weldon's the defending champion. 3 years ago was Scott Dixon, and of course the guy riding in second, Sam Hornish, has won 2, and there's Dixon. So he's closing back in after that rub with the traffic.
Well, it's taken him a while. It hasn't been very much. He's just been running a few ticks faster, but he is catching.
But before they got to the traffic, he was the fastest of the 3.
Absolutely. And if you look at the lap times, he's still the fastest of the 3. He's running faster than either one of those guys in front of him by about 8, by quite a bit, really. I mean, he's running quicker than either one of them, so he's going to catch him. The trouble is, once you catch him, it's kind of like the dog chasing the car. What do you do with him, right?
It's one thing to catch him, but how you get by. All right. Right now, we have completed half the race. 101 laps. The race would be deemed official if the rains come back, but Brian Barnhart would like to see this thing go to 200 laps if all possible.
Well, and I think everybody would like to see it go to 200 laps. I mean, it's only fair to the competitors to let them run to the end. But, anything can happen. But every one of those crews has the radar up, I can guarantee you. And they're watching in case anything pops up. And they want to see how long, if it does pop up, how long it'll be before it gets here to the speedway.
Well, right now, Weldon has led all but 10 laps. So he has led 92 of the 102. And in 9 more laps, nobody's going to take those 3 points away from him.
No. And I think we can pretty much bet that at this point, he's going to get those 3 additional points.
You see some more traffic out in front of your leader. So in a few more laps, he'll have more traffic to negotiate. And here's A.J. Foyt. Now remember, he was off sequence anyway.
Yeah.
He did not come in on that yellow back on lap 12 when he actually led a lap. And then on that restart, they all went blowing by him.
You see, he got a little bit squirrely there trying to get out of the pits. Tire spin, they all do that, but it seemed like got a little wiggly once he got going.
He was talking he was going to move to a stock car racing career, and that was kind of short-lived. He's not been in an IndyCar for over a year when he got the call to come and substitute for Franchitti.
Yeah, Dixon tried to get to the inside. He tried to go
on the inside now. Yep. No room. Sam moves down a little bit to block him.
Yeah, now then Hornish, he's really got 2 problems. He can't really be aggressive to try to get around Weldon, because if he does and lose a second spot, then his championship is even in more jeopardy. So yeah, he's kind of in a tough position right now, whether it's more important to win the race or more important just to hang on to second.
Would you rather be in Dixon's cockpit right now or Hornish's cockpit?
Well, from the pressure standpoint, Dixon doesn't have near the pressure. The pressure is really on Sam Hornish when it comes to what he should do. Of course, this guy in his entire career has handled pressure like not very many people I've ever seen.
You talk about how fast these guys are going. Right now, Scott Sharp is in 5th position. Kanaan is 6th. And those guys are very, very close to going a lap down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there they are. They're catching them very, very quick. So, man. Weldon has just set a blistering pace. Hornish and Dixon have both been able to keep up, and Castroneves. And we've seen that pretty much all year long. These cars have been so dominant. We talked to Rick Mears a couple of races ago and said, why are you guys so fast? Why have you been so dominant? He said, well, He said, we paid attention to all the little things last year, exactly what we had thought before. He said, we paid attention to all the little things because we were down on horsepower, and now that we have the horsepower, all those little things are paying off big dividends.
Well, let's see what dividends get paid off in the next couple of laps, because these guys are going to be in heavy traffic.
Well, Sam looked like he was going to go to the inside because Weldon's stuck on the outside, not stuck out there. He's just out there, and looks like he's going to give up that lead. He thought he was going to get a run on those lap cars, but they were running side by side, and now then he's kind of stuck. We'll see what happens, because as long as those guys are running side by side, nobody's going to go around them, I don't think.
So Hornish leads for the first time this afternoon.
Well, Hornish thought better of it.
Different leader. Well, he led that one lap. He got credited for one lap.
But he jumped to the outside because Brian Herta, being the gentleman that he is, he got away from that outside position, moved down to the bottom to let those guys around.
So now Weldon has led all but 11 laps.
And Kanon's still on the outside, but he's staying out of the way.
Yeah, he let him go this time.
Well, he let the first two go. He pulled back down in front of Dixon.
Well, he won that low groove through the corner.
Yeah.
Dixon wasn't right behind him. That was Sarah Fisher behind him. So Kanon now is in 6th position. Sharp has also gone a lap down.
So really, Ganassi and Penske,
the top 4 on the lead lap.
And they're just dominating. They're just dominating this field here today.
I would say they're pounding this field.
Yeah, and the big problem, I think, there's the points again. You can see Weldon only, he's 5 points down. He's doing everything he can do.
But they have not added in 3 bonus points right now, which he's going to have in a few laps, which is putting 2 points down.
Well, he's doing everything he can do and has done everything he can do to win the championship. Now then, as we said at the beginning, you have to be a little lucky as well as good.
Give him the 3 bonus points because they just completed lap 113 and he has led 102. So the 3 bonus points to Dan Weldon, the 6th race this season. 42% of the time this season he led the most laps. Marco is in on lap 114. Marco's a lap off the pace.
Yeah, he's
a couple laps off the pace.
He's a couple laps off now. He's been back up to speed and running pretty good after that problem. Again, we never did get a report, but it had to be a tire problem almost for that kind of a situation to occur.
Elio Castroneves is pitting, and so is Weldon.
So Weldon heads in. He headed in first last time. These other guys only stayed out for one more lap. So Castroneves will come in front of Weldon.
So once again, the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps will go to Weldon. So that will figure in the final points rundown.
Watch right here. Speed limiter off. Speed limiter off.
It's Tim Cedric talking to him.
Many times as they do that, they remind him there's so many things to think about. The driver is a very important part. He's got a real active role in that pit stop, and he has to make sure he gets all those things done. Turn the speed limiter off, make sure he resets the fuel, sure he holds the brakes. I mean, there's a lot of things he's got to think about and do perfectly, because if you let your concentration lapse, even in the pit area, it can cost you immensely when it comes down to the final check.
We saw what happened with Weldon when he came to the pits that one day and was not close enough to the refueling rig.
Oh yeah, and it can be.
And that's just not something, a mistake that you think he would make.
A very minor thing, and Dixon's still trying to get around Hornish, but so far has had no luck. Hornish heads into the pits.
So Dixon will reassume the lead. Lap 118.
Well, we saw Weldon make his pit stop without a flaw. Now then it's going to be up to...
Kanon also coming in. There's a tear off. Pit speed, very slow.
45-mile-an-hour pit speed limit.
Roger Penske on the radio with his driver. Tim Cedric on the radio with Castroneves. A flawless stop.
Yep, looked good. Everything went well.
So that means we're down to the last stop of the season. About another 50 laps.
One lap to go. One stop to go. Right along with Dixon. He stayed on the racetrack a little bit longer than the other drivers.
So Ganassi dealing with some pit strategy right now.
And, you know, still he's going to have to stop again. You just can't stretch it.
Here he comes. Here he comes. So that should cycle back through and give Weldon the lead back again.
Been a very safe race so far. Only one yellow flag.
On pit lane. 55 car just got in his box.
Okay, you heard him say that the 55 car, Matsura, is in his pit box.
He'll be on your left. Right on the mark, right on the board, right on red. You're clear.
Wow, I don't think he took on a full fuel load. He wasn't in there near as long after his car was down as some of those other guys. It'll be interesting to see. He might have short pitted on the fuel, just hoping, knowing he's got to make another pit stop anyway. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that was a call on the crew.
Pulled up behind those guys, so he didn't short pit by much. Not enough anyway.
So Weldon back in front. Hornish right behind him, right where they were before the pit stop. And of course, only 4 drivers on the lead lap right now.
Wow. It's amazing that you can go through all that, make perfect pit stops, and still come out, and those 2 guys are still nose to tail.
Now, so we completed lap 122, and once again, where he's been all afternoon, Dan Weldon leads Sam Hornish and Scott Dixon. Weldon leading Hornish and his teammate Scott Dixon.
Right along with Dixon, that's Foyt right in front of him. You can see how quickly he closes on him. That's one of the real things that's a real bother for these guys. You close so quickly on some of these cars, and you're not really sure exactly what they're going to do. Now, Foyt is.
He was very cautious when he went by.
And Foyt was, obviously his spotters were telling him to stay high, and they probably made some sort of they talked to the spotters up there, and he knew that. And so he went to the bottom because, you know, if you miscalculate this ever so slightly, it can be a huge, huge problem.
Well, Scott Dixon had been the fastest on the racetrack. Then they caught traffic, and he had more difficulty getting through the traffic. A big gap ensued. Then he closed the lap down. Then they made the pit stop. So once again, he's closing that gap down on Dan Weldon and Hornish. Now back up in front, a car length between first and second.
Well, Scott Dixon has again been the fastest guy on the racetrack the last 3 laps in a row. So, you know, he's slowly but surely doing exactly as he did the last time, catching the 2 leaders.
There's a look at AJ. AJ in for Dario Franchitti. And it was interesting that he out-qualified his AGR teammates yesterday with virtually no practice in that car.
And he's done a very credible job. I mean, he's running in 14th position, but he's still in front of 2 of the 3. Tony Kanaan, who's running up near the front in 6th position, is the only one of the AGR cars that's in front of him.
Danica Patrick, incidentally, back in 13th position, and Sarah Fisher back in 17th. And once again, Scott Dixon closes down. You take a look at Roger Penske. Now, he's in communication with Hornish. Right now, they know that if Sam finishes right here, he has the championship.
Well, Roger Penske is a very, very smart operator. He's been keeping track of that very closely. You take a look there at Castroneves for a second as he's trying to close in on those guys. But right now, he's running slower than your leaders, than all 3 of your leaders. So even though he's only 7 points out of the lead, he's not gaining on those guys. It'll be very interesting to see if after that next pit stop he can make any changes, because right now Weldon and Hornish have been very much in control. Dixon pretty much out of the points race right now, unless something would really bad happen to both of the Penske cars. But Weldon, he's not giving up easy. If he goes down, he's going to go down fighting, no question about that.
Well, again, they're going to have to deal with traffic before this race is over.
Well, they've dealt with it before, and so far Weldon has done everything perfectly.
But it only takes a slight miscue by one driver that they're going around to spoil an entire season.
You know, I'm sure the spotters are in control. A lot of the things that happen in a spotter stand up there, I've seen fist fights up there before where, you know, they're yelling at each other and they're saying, hey, get him out of the way. We're going to go. We're coming up really quick. This is a championship. Make sure he stays high. Make sure he stays low. Those spotters are very, very important. Not only when a crash happens, but they're very important in situations like this where they're kind of lobbying for their guy as to what's going to happen when traffic comes up there. And so you can bet that the spotter for Weldon's out there telling those guys that are in front of him, hey, you know, make sure he stays lower, make sure he stays higher, make sure he stays someplace, because when we're coming up on him, we want to get around quickly.
Another reason Penske would like to see a victory here today, that he and AGR are tied now for the most wins in the IndyCar series with 23 each. So he could break the tie with a win here. You know, Scott Dixon has completed 99.7% of the laps this season.
He's been extremely dependable. He's been extremely fast on all the road courses. I think next year when they go to more road courses, it's going to be an extreme advantage for him. It's going to be a huge disadvantage for Sam Hornish unless his learning curve can increase a little bit quicker. He's finished in the top 10 a couple of times, but
that's not his forte.
No, it's not his forte, and he'll readily admit it. So it means that he's going to have to run better on the ovals, much better on the ovals, and give up a little on the road courses. Scott Dixon, on the other hand, even though he's very good on the ovals, he's extremely good on the road courses.
Well, of course, he won on the road course. Dixon did it. Watkins Glen on a very cold, wet day in the rain, and he also won at Nashville, so he can win on every type of racetrack.
But he was quick at Sonoma. He's been quick on virtually every road course. He was very quick at Sonoma.
Yeah, that was his race to win at Sonoma.
Exactly. Even though Marco did pull it off in the end, he had to have a little luck, but luck's a part of racing. You've got to have luck on your side.
Well, Marco had a whole lot of luck that day with there's the speed of the line, but Marco had a lot of luck in regards to the fastest car having a pit problem, and then needing a yellow to conserve the fuel and having his teammates spin out.
Yeah. You can see Dixon still just slightly quicker than the two leaders and catching them. We're waiting on Castanevis to come by to see exactly how quick he is. And there you can see.
And he's off the pace a bit.
Yeah, he's off the pace compared to the top three. Now, the thing is, if he were to catch a yellow and get behind those guys, then could he use the draft to keep up? That'd be a whole new ball game. But as it has been for the last, I don't know, 40 laps, Dixon, when he's by himself, is the fastest car on the racetrack.
Once again, 141 laps now complete, and look at that, top three, nose to tail.
Well, Dixon, just slowly but surely chips away. When he catches them, it's a whole different deal. He's tried a couple of times to get under Hornish and tried to make him run on the outside to get that position away from him. So far, he hasn't been able to do it.
And slower traffic coming up in front of him. What Scott Dixon has to do. It doesn't appear that that's going to be the case today, though.
Well, he's
the best shot for Ganassi right now is that guy leading that race.
Well, tell you one thing, Scott Dixon has not given up. He's still in there thrashing and pushing and running hard. And he knows, I'm sure he's been told by his teammates that if he gets around Hornish, then it sure is a benefit to his teammates. So you're getting down to a point where you've only got about 50 laps to go.
Well, it's not going to be his championship to win. Let's help the teammate win.
And we've talked before, and you heard Sam Hornish and you heard Castanevis both say, all the gloves are off when it comes down to those last 50 laps. Every man for himself.
Marty Roth about to be put another lap down. You see the open wheel championships.
And he's stayed, Marty Roth, to his credit, even though he's not been very fast on the racetrack and he's several laps down. He
stayed out of the way.
Yeah, he has stayed low and been out of the way and been pretty easy for everybody to get around.
You saw that statistic of the years that Penske won the Indy 500 and the open wheel championship, whatever sanctioning body it was, USAC or CART. And of course, Sam won at Indy back in May, so this could add one more year to that stat for Roger Penske. So 146 laps complete. Weldon, Hornish, Dixon, and Castanevis on the lead lap. But right now, Castroneves some distance back in third position. The shootout right now is among the top three, among Weldon, Hornish, and Dixon.
And once Dixon has caught these guys, it's made things a lot tougher. He's just kind of hanging in there in the same spot.
Well, as you indicated, catching is one thing, passing is something else. So the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps have already gone to Weldon as he leads Sam Hornish and his teammate Scott Dixon.
Well, Castroneves is going to be a lap down here within the next, I'd say, 15 laps if there isn't a yellow. He's running enough slower than those guys that he's on the same straightaway with them, on the wrong end of the same straightaway with them, unfortunately. And so he's really, you know, he really needs a yellow flag at this point, because if he goes a lap down,
you got the yellow. Debris on the racetrack.
Gee whiz. Well, that's a big break for him, and it's a big break for everybody, because they're going to get to make their last pit stop
under yellow.
Under yellow. Every one of these guys is going to come in, going to make the pit stop under yellow, and then it'll just be flat out after that. It's going to be a shootout, no question about it.
And this will also get the lap cars out of the way.
Yes, that's right. The ones who are in front of the leaders, at any rate. Castroneves is still going to have to deal with some lap cars, but we'll see how they all shake out when they come out. But Castroneves is not going to. He's going to have some lap cars.
No, but he's not going to lose his lap now.
No, he's not going to lose his lap. He's going to get a chance to.
So you see that Dan Weldon will wait for the pace car to pick him up. Hornish will be second, then Scott Dixon, then Elio Castroneves. So we'll wait for the pace car to pick up your leader. Under our second caution of the afternoon, this is for debris, but this will allow them to gather up behind the pace car. They'll open the pits and they'll make their final pit stop of the afternoon under the yellow. And this will make for a clean, open racetrack as the leaders come back out of the pits.
Well, still, even though it is under yellow, you still have to get in and out cleanly. I mean, if you kill the engine or having a problem like we've seen before with some of these guys.
Or speed, as Castroneves did.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that can go wrong. So you still got to have a good pit stop. You're just not going to lose quite as much ground on the racetrack as you would otherwise.
You saw a piece of what appeared to be rubber on the racetrack that was picked up by a safety crew member. Only our second yellow of the afternoon. We only had 3 yellows in 2003. And you hear the admonishment about watching the speed on pit lane. We had 6 caution periods back in 2004, so only 2 this afternoon as your leaders. In fact, the entire field peels off to head to pit road. Well, let's take us a deep breath here as we get ready for the final pit stop of the afternoon, final pit stop of the season.
Focus, got to come around Ricky. Stop on the mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reset your fuel and focus on Dave.
Look at this.
Through to almost contact there coming out of the pits.
Hornish beat him out. This could be huge. The fact that Hornish beat him out could be huge in the end. Dixon is going to have Kanaan between himself and the leaders, so that's going to be a problem for Dixon.
That could be a championship right there.
Yeah.
How many times has Penske won something, a race in the pit lane or a championship, in this case, in the pit lane?
Let's take another look.
They're all lined up right there together. And there comes Castroneves.
Boy, they didn't waste any time. They got him out as soon as the tires are on there, but you can see the crewman, he hit his fist as soon as he took off because he knew they hadn't gotten him out quick enough. Wow.
But with Hornish taken off, did they get enough fuel?
Well, they obviously think they did. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But everybody, as soon as the tires are on, they took off. So it'll be.
Normally, they're still, you know, the tires are on and we're still refueling.
Yeah. So they took a little bit of a chance there that they didn't have to have all that fuel. So I'm sure.
Well, they had their computers and their calculators down there.
Well, they do. And now then, the whole load is on Weldon. Can he get back around Hornish? If he and Dixon can both get around him, the championship could go to Ganassi, but that's a tall road to hoe. And look how many cars Castroneves still has to go around.
There's Elio back in fourth position. So basically, at this juncture, he's out of this championship chase.
Well, the big question mark for Castroneves is going to be, did he make some changes on that car, or enough changes to run the same speed as those guys? If he didn't make enough changes, if he's still running a mile an hour slower than they are, it doesn't matter how many cars in front of him. He's not.
But he can't. He has to win this thing. He can't.
Well,
with Hornish, where Hornish is, he can't finish second and win the championship.
Right. That's right.
He's got to win this race.
So he's got to get around him, and you're right. It makes it virtually impossible. Not impossible, but
Hornish at this point is the only driver that does not have to win this race to win the championship.
Exactly. And he's the guy out there who has proven time and time again when
this is kind of a racetrack.
In clutch situations, he can rise to it. Weldon, though, is every bit that kind of a driver too. There's no question that in his mind,
but Weldon needs to get by, and Dixon needs to get by to give Weldon the championship.
Well, and everything is possible. So it's going to be very interesting final 45 laps.
Well, now you say it's possible. If this number 6 car runs the finish, it's going to be real tough for both those guys to get by him.
Yeah, it's going to be real tough. There's no question about it. He's always very fast on these kind of racetracks, and he's proven
that he can win the close races.
And he's very smart when it comes to that kind of stuff. He can really come across. I mean, he just has a knack for running that outside and being in front at the right time.
Well, he's won the closest finish ever. He's won the closest finish among 3 drivers. And if you look at the 10 closest finishes, a number of times Hornish is right there on the point.
Yes, and the ones that he wasn't on the point, he was almost
second
place and third place in all of those. He's been a factor in almost every one of those very close finishes, and it's just it's tough to beat him.
Well, Hornish leads for the second time this afternoon. They were making pit stops, and Hornish led back on lap 109.
Well, be interesting to see once they take off. I think Weldon's going to be able to keep up with him. The real question is, can he use that outside to his advantage and get back in front, which he desperately needs to do. 1 lap to go.
And again, it's his championship to win. And if he wins the race, there's no doubt. But he does not need to win the race to actually win the championship.
Well, I can promise you that Dan Weldon is not going to go down without a fight. He'll do everything that race car will allow him to do to win this race. Let the chips fall where they may after that, but he's not going to give up easily. So we'll see. The start restart's going to be very important. Doesn't look like, oh yeah, he got a good run. He got a great run
inside, and that's pretty rare to see Hornish give up the lead on the restart.
Wow, he got it. The second place is always the best place to be on that restart because you have a chance to get on the throttle a little earlier. He did exactly that. Dixon could not make it up there. Castroneves is still struggling back there behind a whole gaggle of cars.
Well, Dixon got around, so he's up to 3rd position. Got around Kanaan, a lap car. You also see Simmons back there, a lap car. So Tony Kanaan is now in 5th, a lap off the pace. Scott Sharp is in 6th. And 7th is Jeff Simmons.
Look at this. Dixon tries to get to the inside, and I can guarantee you Sam Hornish is upset with himself now. What he doesn't want to do is get upset enough that he does something silly here and trying to get back towards the front. But look at Dixon. Dixon to the inside as Elliott works his way through. But man, oh man.
Look at this.
Look at this.
And there goes Kanaan.
So not only is he in 3rd, but he's in 3rd with a lap car in front of him.
Well, that changes the complexion of this race.
Well, he's going to get back around Kanaan in pretty short order. Probably.
Well, not the way he had trouble getting by him earlier.
Well, we don't know exactly.
Everybody had trouble getting out. Kanaan gets out of the way.
Yeah, Kanaan just gets out of the way, lets him go. But wow, this could be huge. And look at Dixon, the good teammate that he is. Get out there in the corners. Don't let him get to the outside.
Look at that.
Tied. Wow. dead.
Then it would go to Hornish based on wins. Because Hornish has won 4 times this season, and Weldon would have won twice.
Wow. With a tie, it's just unbelievable that you could still lose the championship. I mean, Weldon has really done everything you could ask him to do. Ooh.
Dario Franchitti lost the championship like that, being tied. Goes on, but look, here comes Kanaan back to the inside of Hornish.
Well, Hornish right now, be interesting to hear what the captain's telling him at this point.
Well, if it's tied, he can stay right there and still win the championship.
He finished, that was the scenario before. If he finished 3rd or better, he could not lose the championship, and that's where he's running right now.
And right now, Castroneves is not a factor.
No, Castroneves is a couple of seconds back, still with some lap cars in front of him.
There he is. But he's making up some ground, though.
Well, but if your teammate is...
And guess who was the fastest the last lap? Castroneves.
Well, I can't... Look at this. Look at this. If Dixon wins, Weldon loses the championship, and he goes to the outside of him.
Well, I guess there are no team orders in the Ganassi organization.
I guess this is every man for himself, as Dixon absolutely just...
Well, we heard which driver said the last 50 laps is going to be that set.
That was Hornish. He said, and well, he and Castroneves both said the last 50 laps, it's every man for himself, and that's where it appears out there right now. And Hornish, I think he's been very cautious. But boy, he'd like to win this thing too.
Well, Weldon had to be surprised when he glanced over and saw his teammate pull alongside.
Well,
may not be taking him to dinner this evening.
You know, he pulls back down behind him, going down the straightaway, trying to help him get down there, but he pulls out enough in the corners that it's going to make it very difficult for Hornish to go around. So Hornish has got to be very, very careful.
We almost had a yellow here in the studio. I broke my chair and almost fell out of it.
Well, these guys right now, look at this. Dixon again gets another run on him to the outside. Now he's going to lead him down the back straightaway.
But there goes Weldon back by on the inside.
Man, oh man.
And what are those two guys doing right now?
Yeah, exactly.
And here comes Castroneves. And he has time to catch up. We're at lap 167, like 167.
Well, if he actually catches those guys and won around Sam Hornish and cost him the championship, I think maybe that's when team orders might come into play. I don't know. Man, oh man.
Right now it's Sam's championship, so surely, and Penske knows that. That crew knows that. They wouldn't put Sam back in 4th position.
Look at the Ganassi guys.
But look at all these lap cars that have caught up with them.
And look at those two guys are fighting. I mean, they're teammates. But, they're fighting for a paycheck and they're fighting for stability, Look at this. Hornish goes to the outside of both of them. Man, oh man.
And here comes Castroneves.
Castroneves trying to get through the lap traffic to get up there to battle with him. And if he does, then it's going to be a jump ball for everybody.
And here comes Kanaan back on the inside. And Scott Sharp. Simmons. It's a good ride for Simmons. Simmons up in the 6th position. Best ride he's had all season. Actually in 7th position now.
Enough of this running 3rd stop. I'm going to go for it. And man, once he got going, he just went on around Hornish, and now then he's working on his teammate.
Okay, here is the scenario. Weldon has to win this race and have Hornish finish 4th to take the title. He's already gotten the 3 bonus points leading this race. But he has to win this race, not Dixon.
And if Dixon wins, I think Hornish has to run at least 5th in order for him to win. So, because he doesn't have those 3 extra points. So it's very interesting.
Surprising to see these guys. Dixon really is the outside guy here. I mean, Dixon's not going to win this championship, not with Hornish and Castroneves right there. Look at Castroneves now. So it's surprising that Ganassi and crew has not made the command to Dixon, let Weldon go and run interference for him.
Well, he's trying to win the race, and I think that's the way. I think that's the way Ganassi and Penske both want this thing to be decided. It's decided on the racetrack by the drivers.
But if you were the car owner, Larry, would you not want a championship over the race victory?
Oh yeah, but look at this. Castroneves now on the inside of his teammate, and he said, "Every man for himself."
Well, so he's going for the title.
Wow. Wow, this is unbelievable.
This is better than a Hollywood script.
You would never think, especially with Castroneves being so slow during the mid part of this race, whatever they changed, whatever slight adjustments they made, they certainly did it right.
Looking in lap 179.
Well, now getting back up in there.
Who's going to win this championship? Is it going to be Castroneves or Hornish? There's the captain, and you can only see one section of the racetrack. Although he has the monitor with our broadcast on it.
Well, Castroneves knows what's at stake. All four of these guys know what's at stake. All four of them are trying to win this race. Scott Dix.
All Castroneves has to do now is get around Sam Hornish, and he has the title. There's the point right there. They're still tied at the top, which would give Hornish the championship. But all Castroneves has to do is get around Hornish, and the title would be his.
Dixon only 15 points down. It looks like he's at least lost one spot as Weldon's gone around him. Weldon's got to try to hold off Hornish. Boy, you think he's not intense right now?
Final 19 laps. Hornish has to get around Scott Dixon.
And some spoilers.
Go after his teammate. Well, he's got back around Hornish now.
Yeah, and some spoilers coming up as Kanaan and Eddie Carpenter both running very quick right behind him.
Carpenter having a great ride this afternoon. He's up in 5th.
Those guys are all a lap down.
They're down 6th.
They can't take a position away, but they can certainly make it harder for those guys to pass for the lead if they get up there and mix it up.
Well, these guys running side by side can enable those guys to close in. Here comes Hornish.
Hornish likes the high side.
But here comes Castroneves, and he's on the low side.
Boy, side by side, lap after lap.
Now, what's Kanaan going to do?
Remember, this racetrack is...
Kanaan just went around Castroneves.
This racetrack's produced some of the best finishes. Oh, Castroneves.
Well, Castroneves has a problem. He's backing well. He lost 2 positions. About to lose 3 because here comes Simmons by, and he goes by him.
Looks like the handling might be going away slightly as the race wears on. It looked like he had to get out of the throttle. You don't have to get out of the throttle very much. You can get out a quarter of the throttle. If you look at some of the graphics they have when they show how much throttle you get out, you can get out as little as 10% or 15% and still lose a lot of speed on the racetrack. And that may be what happened. He had to lift just slightly, and it cost him 2 or 3 spots on the racetrack.
He had the time to get back and challenge for that position, take that position away from Hornish. He has Tony Kanaan out in front of him. Ed Carpenter's got him on Tony Kanaan. He's up to 5th, by far the best ride of the season for Eddie Carpenter.
Of course, those two guys battling for position, and that puts Castroneves in a worse situation, and he needs to get around both of those guys in order to get back up there and get up front. Battle for the lead.
Carpenter finished 6th on the road course at Watkins Glen, which is kind of uncharacteristic because he came out of midgets and sprints and Silver Crown cars.
As they stand now, Hornish would still win, as you pointed out, because of the number of victories, but Castroneves only 2 points out. But
he's mired back there in traffic right now. He's back
and he's losing
4th position, but he's losing track position.
He's losing more ground instead of gaining. Doesn't seem like that car is working. When he first came out of the pits, he was the quickest guy. When he caught those guys, got up right behind them, he was just as quick. Now then,
look at this. Look at Simmons on the inside of Carpenter for position.
How That was a pretty gutsy move on the inside as he moved down there. Meanwhile, the two Ganassi guys still battling it out.
Well, Weldon is going to reflect back on stuff that happened in the pits, like that one time that he was too far away from refueling rig. That would have cost him the championship right there.
Yeah, very well. It would have. I mean, there's some very small things that have made a huge difference in the run for this championship.
Well, this is the races we've seen Ed Carpenter all season, and Simmons.
He's doing a great job out there so far.
Fastest rookie qualifier, and that's that battle behind your leaders. They're battling a lap off the pace as the laps wind down. 10 to go, coming up this time. 190 now complete.
I think Sam Hornish right now is kind of biting his tongue, just wanting to get up there and battle for this victory, but knowing that
he doesn't have to.
Yeah, in the big picture.
But he doesn't want this championship to end in a tie. Even though he'll win it based on total wins, he wants to win this thing outright.
Well, I'm sure he does, but a victory is a victory, any way you count it. His name will still go on the championship trophy. He'll still get the big check, and that's what it's all about.
But Dan Weldon has done exactly what Dan Weldon had to do this afternoon.
Well, he's done it
lead the most laps and win the race.
He and Scott Dixon have both done a fantastic job. It's just that they needed some cooperation from Lady Luck, and so far they haven't got it because, Sam Hornish is right there at third, where he needs to be.
So now 9 laps, less than 9 laps to go. They flash across the start-finish line for 8 laps to go. Sam Hornish hearing from the captain. There's Ganassi. He's running 1-2, but not enough to win the championship. Somebody like, well, the only person that can get around Hornish would be Castroneves, and he's in no position for that.
Yeah. You see both Roger Penske and Chip Ganassi knowing that this championship so close, yet for Ganassi it appears so far away.
For Sam Hornish, his third, it would be his third IndyCar Series championship. He won 2 with Panther Racing. And what a phenomenal season for him, having won the Indianapolis 500. But this would give Roger Penske Roger's first IRL championship. And how fitting to have these teams tie at the top of the leaderboard, despite the fact based on wins, it will go to Penske and Sam Hornish.
And as you said, you can go back and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, if all these things had happened, but they did.
Whoa! Dixon moved to the inside. They moved up the racetrack. And all Hornish is going to do, I think, right now is just ride back there in third position.
Yeah, I don't think he's.
That's what Roger's telling him right now.
I'd love to.
5 laps to go. Just stay where you are.
And Dixon's.
Contact between the two of them, and here comes Sam on the inside. He's going to take second position.
Wow.
Well, that'll give it to him outright.
Yeah.
No tie now.
That was, those guys both trying so hard, just slight contact, and Dixon had to get out of the throttle. And it didn't take, it just takes just a second for that to happen.
Here it is again, 2 laps ago. Left front to right rear. Oh, he got
hit the wing.
He got the wing.
He just got the wing, but Dixon, he went to the outside. Ooh. Wasn't much of a movement on either car's part.
Enough to give Hornish the title outright, though, unless Dixon can get back by on the inside and force a tie.
Wow, and he's not giving up. Look at this.
He's going to make the move when he goes by, and Sam's not going to contest it too much. On lap 198.
Well, Sam is showing a lot of maturity here. And times past, we might have seen him
stick his nose in there.
Test that a lot more than we did right there. And Dixon, Weldon looks like he's got either the car's washing up a little bit because he's going higher. Coming off the corners, he's going higher than he has all race long. So it looks like the handling might not be as good on that car as it had been as he's moved up the racetrack and continues to come out a little higher than he was earlier.
Well, if they finish right there, and in the order they're running right now, it would be a tie at the top of the championship, but based on his 4 wins this season versus the 2 now for Weldon as the white flag comes out, the title would go to Penske and Sam Hornish.
Dixon's not going to give up.
Dixon's still going to try on this last lap to get this top spot away from his teammate.
It looks like the fast part of the racetrack has moved up, and Dixon just can't get enough of a run out there. And Weldon wants to win bad enough that he's using up a whole lot of racetrack.
There it is. So Harnish takes the championship.
Well, Roger Penske is a very happy guy right now as he and Chip is sitting there saying, you know, we won the race and we were so close, but we just couldn't win that championship.
Well, plenty to talk about as far as this weekend is concerned. It's been an absolutely fantastic race. Sam Hornish Jr. is the man of the moment. He is the IndyCar champion of 2006 and adds to a tremendous record in IRL, of course. Here with me are Christopher Tate and Paul Cherry.
Penske Racing, your biggest competitor.
We're looking now at live pictures. And you can see there's been a bit of a demonstration gone on there. And there is Dan Weldon.
So does Chip. But when you're you know, pushing so hard with the competition between the two teams, and you've got such a quality from Honda, it's difficult to gain an advantage, and I think you could see that. But the two teams are definitely a step ahead of the rest, and that's because of their dedication to winning.
How are you feeling? You're not sounding too good at this point.
No, I'm not, but it was a good way to finish the race nonetheless.
Well, guys, he did what he needed to do.
So Dan Weldon, he won at the beginning of the season, he's won at the end of it, but despite tying on points, he has lost the IndyCar Championship. The defending champion then is out, and that is a disaster for him. And we're looking at Sam Hornish. Well, he's going to be a happy boy, that's for sure. Sam Hornish Jr., Penske's first ever IndyCar Championship. And Roger Penske is going to be pretty happy about that. We've got a lot to talk about here in the studio. We will be, of course, as we run down through the analysis, not just of today, but a bit from the season as well. We can go back down to the track then and hear what presumably Sam will have to say. In a moment, we'll see a mic stuck up underneath Sam and get the race winner and the champion for 2006, what his feelings are. That is Victory Lane and the Penske car for the first time as the champion. Dan Weldon, race winner.
Boy, that was close. And you got ticketed for speeding. What impact did that have?
Well, I guess I have to agree with the Florida police now, you know. Normally I have a lot of tickets, so, it was kind of strange because there was a lot of guys in the same situation. It was difficult. I have to say that, I don't know, but they have the computers, they know what it is. And again, this is awesome. What a dream for a team. Finish first and second in the championship. That's what every team would like to have and wish to have, and we finish. I would like to be, I'm the one to be in the champion, but in the end of the day, it's the entire Marvel team pace. So well done, guys. Well done, Sam. And hey, 2007 is going to have much more.
You're going to have an opportunity to sit down privately without us listening in or anybody and have a chat with the new champion. What are you going to say to your teammate?
I want to give him congrats. I mean, no question about he's one of the best drivers in oval that I know, racing at least with me, and no question he proving. You know, even that we have road course this year, he learned a lot. He came a long way. He deserves it. I'll give all the credit. He made me better as well. I mean, today we see him first and second. It's about one pushing another.
Yeah, he told me yesterday that you have made him a better driver. How has he made you a better driver?
With those ovals, let me tell you, first time I remember was kind of hard. I didn't know about the drafting. It's still a learning process, you know. And but hey, we had Ganassi seemed to be a little bit faster than us this race. First, we had a lot of victory this year, and you know what? Martin Penske, fantastic team. I'm very honored to be proud to be part of this organization, guys.
So then you heard from Elio Castroneves. Well, still the bridesmaid, we've got to say, as far as the championship is concerned there. 2002 was the last time he was pipped in it. There's the unofficial results then. Dan Weldon, Scott Dixon, Sam Hornish. We'll be hearing from, of course, Sam Hornish in a moment or two. Ed Carpenter, a lap behind. Only the top four on the leading lap. They were the top four going for the championship. Dan Weldon taking his second win of the year, and it was courtesy of that fact that Sam Hornish had 4 wins of the year, that despite the fact they finished on exactly the same points, Sam Hornish Jr. is the IndyCar champion for this year. Welcome back. Sam Hornish Jr. is the 2006 IndyCar champion. Dan Wheldon, though, the man who took the last race of the season so far. Here's the championship standings. And look at that. It doesn't get much closer to it. Sam Hornish Jr. wins it, 475 points. Dan Wheldon, 475 points also. He led for the most laps, getting the extra 3 points. And still loses out, courtesy of 2 wins this year, compared with Sam Hornish Jr.'s 4 wins this year. So the points, well, gentlemen, we've got quite a lot to talk about, I've got to say here, and I don't quite know where to start. But I think, first of all, we'll start with Dan Wheldon and Ganassi team. Really, they lost that earlier on in the year with a few little mistakes, a few little unscheduled problems that they really shouldn't have had. And I think Dan Wheldon, you know, I remember one particular shot of him, I can't remember which round it was, where he walked away from our camera looking particularly unhappy with the way the team had performed.
Yeah.
And really, they lost it back then, didn't they?
Yes, it's been a very unusual championship right through this year. I mean, it's unusual that the IRL season ends so early on. I mean, normally we have more races and it goes on longer. But it's been very, very, very intense the whole year through. To have arrived at the last race with 4 people in there with a shout, and for those 4 to be absolutely at it right at the end of the race as well, shows just how intense it was. But not picking up your points when you could have done early on for Ganassi has really been their problem. I think Sam's about to say.
Let's hear from Sam Hornish now.
One-time IndyCar champion. Share with us, what is the emotion of winning this title today?
This is just about as excited, I think, as I've ever been. It's been a great day for us and a great year. Winning the 500, is definitely the highlight of my career, but this is right close to there. The first 2 kind of came a little bit easier than this one seemed to, and it's been a couple years in between, so it made me appreciate it some more. So I'm just super excited about the way that we were able to win this today, and hopefully we'll go back and try to get another one next year.
When you reflect back on this year, what will you remember most and maybe cherish most about this 3rd title?
Winning Indy being part of it is definitely the biggest part of this, and I just can't believe it. I mean, it's been an unbelievable season. We really just stuck in there, worked hard. All the guys on the team worked really hard to make sure that we always, we're trying to be competitive over the past couple of seasons when we didn't have quite everything we needed to win. Now that we had it, we had to go out there, prove that, we weren't just talking. We had to go out there and show what we could do, and we were able to do that today.
Well, the man who made it possible for you, you talk about sports dynasties, you talk about the Yankees in baseball, and possibly the Celtics or the Cowboys. Well, in motorsports, there's one name in terms of winning. Please welcome the championship car winner for 2006, Roger Penske. 11 national championships coming into the year, and now Roger, what do you have to say to your driver here for what he has done for you, giving you something you didn't have on the shelf, a championship in the IRL IndyCar Series?
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, this guy's some driver, and today was a day of no mistakes, and I think we're even now. He got Indy, and then he got us the IRL championship, so what a great day. Thank you all fans for being here and supporting us. Thanks a million.
What's going through your mind in those final laps today when you know you got 2 drivers who you love dearly out there battling it out? It had to be a lot of mixed emotion.
Well, you never know. I mean, I'm trying to get Sam into the place, and Tim's working on Elio. We just had to stay in line and let those guys pull us. But he got a little racy there at the end. I said, let's get back in line.
All right, Roger Penske, the championship car owner, and our champion Sam Hornish. Now, please welcome for a very special presentation, the president of the Indy Racing League, Mr. Brian Barnhart. A very special presentation here for these winning championship owner and driver, as well as the Indy Racing League Championship Cup. Brian?
Thanks, Jerry. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd certainly like to thank the fans for coming out. It was an outstanding season. Congratulate Target, Chip Ganassi Racing. Dan Wheldon did all he could in winning the race, and all the other competitors as well. But a special congratulations to Marlboro Team Penske, Roger and Sam. A championship well deserved. Congratulations.
And we'll let these 3 walk up here and get a photograph. It has been a long time coming for Roger Penske. He has not had an IRL IndyCar title until today. And what a year for Sam Hornish on the final turn of the final lap at the Indianapolis 500. He pulls it off and realizes a dream of winning on Memorial Day weekend. And today, he gives the captain, Roger Penske, his first IRL IndyCar title. Guys?
$1 million better off, and also the IndyCar champion for the first time. Roger Penske I'm talking about now. Not many of us, of course, move in the circles of the likes of Roger Penske, except one man on this panel at the moment, Christopher Tate. You actually bumped into him at Goodwood, didn't you, and had a chat with him about the IRL.
Very, very interesting man. I mean, as people know, I mean, the $1 million doesn't not
count
signify a lot to the lucky winner. But if you're Roger, you've got a few of those. So I mean, it's not the most significant thing. Winning the championship's very important to him. What strikes you whenever you talk to him is that this is a remarkably competitive man. He runs a huge business empire, but yet every weekend he's not at the IRL race, he's at a NASCAR race, where he actually is the spotter. He's talking on the radio to his driver, and in the IRL, he's actually running the team. This man runs a $10 billion commercial empire that includes everything from most diesel truck engines made in the States to the biggest truck rental operation in the world, to etc., etc., etc. He's on the board of countless companies. To talk to, he's a fascinating man. And what he's achieved, and finally here now, great to have won the IRL championship. Of course, won the Champ Car championship many times, twice towards the end of their time in Champ Car. And it will mean an enormous amount to him. You could see how pleased he was. I mean,
Indeed.
He's not taking anything for granted, and he knows he's got two very quick drivers at the moment. And if they can resolve the interesting question, which is what they're going to be called next year, because they can't be red and white anymore, because it's the end of tobacco in the States, then no reason why they shouldn't go on and do it again.
Okay, well, let's move on to Ganassi's performance this weekend. We've talked about the downside of Ganassi for Dan Weldon earlier on in the year. They did everything absolutely bang on dead right today. Their pit stops were impeccable. They were 2 seconds ago quicker quite often than the Penske team, which is a pretty exemplary setup in the first place. Still couldn't manage to do enough. But the thing for me, Paul, if I can put you on the hot spot here, is they did seem to have their two boys racing unnecessarily, both at the very beginning of this race. The first 3 laps they were banging wheels, and the last 3 laps they were banging wheels. I didn't quite understand all of that.
I have to side with you. The initial start to the race, while it was exciting for us all, was for me, if they'd done anything stupid, then it was all over bar the shouting. Now all the drivers got into their cars and said, well, to hell with it, we're going for the win. Dan did everything he had to do, and in fairness to Scott, he also did everything he had to do. But with 20 laps, 15 laps to go at the end, did we need to have the front wing end plate shoved into the back of the tyre of Dan? That could have put both of them out on the spot, and that would have been a pretty unforgiving way to finish the championship.
Look at it from Chip's point of view. What was he looking to try and gain from that? I mean, obviously, Scott Dixon would have liked to end this season on a win, especially when he knew that Dan Weldon wasn't going to win the championship if they stayed in the positions they were in at the time. What could have been the thinking team-wise?
Well, I think that's probably the big point. I was just talking about being privileged to have spent time recently with Penske. The other thing that strikes you is this is a very clever man whose brain's thinking all the time. Chip, Paul's dealt with him, I dealt with him over the years, different sort of character altogether, and I just don't think that the team was really telling the two Ganassi boys what to be doing. Because Penske clearly was, and as he just said in his interview just then, Tim Cindric, who's the president of Penske Motorsports, is in charge of Castro-Neves's car, and these two are rivals, if you like, but they've got an overall team hat on in how they're running it. Ganassi seems to have lost the plot, I thought. I just thought that was extraordinary behaviour to let the two drivers be doing that. What they needed was to make sure that they were still running within the main bunch, so somebody, who did we have, Carpenter or Mehra or Kanaan or someone, might have been able to get in the mix and keep Hornish back that one more place that would have allowed Weldon to be champion. And it's just, I don't know, I'm amazed. I just thought the strategy had gone a bit awry, and by the time you get to the last 10 laps and they're banging wheels, you've really got to say to yourself,
could have been quite a costly end to the season.
What was that all about?
Indeed.
I think what you've got to say, that these 1.5 mile ovals, you'll have spotted here that hardly ever did we see anybody changing gear unless they lost air and lost track position. And the reason that is it's a full bulkhead, as we call it, circuit, i.e. once you're up to speed, your thing's flat on the bulkhead. These guys come out, they've got cramp in their feet, this sort of thing. The reason behind that is because you've got to keep flat out. Now, you can't manage your speed when you're flat out. And I think the thing is, in leaving Scott to race, he was side by side. He made it very, very hard for Sam to get into that second place. So they did everything they could, but I think you'd have said over the radio, just hang on a little minute, you know.
Yeah, this could all end up in tears if you're not careful. Well, top 4 men ended up on the last lap together, of course. They'd lapped everybody else out in the race. Now, Dan Weldon, he moved across to the United States some time ago. He has made a really big career for himself over there. He is a superstar in the United States. He was the defending IndyCar champion. And we caught up with him just to take a look in on his lifestyle now down in Florida.
Yeah, right. Speed on the water is like twice. You know, if you're going 100 here, it's like 200 on the street, he said. Yeah, it feels slow, huh? Why did you make the change?
You know, it was a difficult decision and an easy decision at the same time. I could see personally that the team was starting to change. I noticed a little bit more friction. I noticed that financially the team weren't quite as secure as they made out that they were. And then my friend Mr. Ganassi calls me and he said, look, if you come to my team, I will give you everything you need to be able to win and prove to yourself and to prove to AGR that I could win in a different team.
What brings an Englishman like yourself to St. Petersburg?
It's just a pretty city. I mean, it's beautiful. It's hot. There's a lot of, the weather's much better than England.
Will you ever go back home to England?
Are you serious?
If you could mold your own impression of who Dan Weldon is, what would you want it to be like?
I think loyal and I would say dedicated to being the best driver in the world. I love what I do. I really do. I just, you know, I want to continue winning.
I love that question. Will you ever come back to England? The multi-millionaire living in Florida with Jane Little alongside him, I just don't think so somehow. We'll take a break. We've got more analysis in just a couple of minutes. You're back with us here in the studio. Only one man we haven't heard from at the moment of the top 4 today in Illinois, and that was, of course, Scott Dixon, and we can hear from him now.
Well, Scott, looking back on the entire season, is there one turning point that kept you out of the championship in your mind?
No, not at all. I think there's plenty for all 4 of us guys, so you know you can't put it on one. I mean, I think everybody had it fairly, and to be honest, I think the best guy did win. So you know, congrats to Sam and Penske. They did a great job all year, and you know, hopefully we can turn the tables next year and try and beat them.
When you take a look at this season, there was certainly Dan Weldon comes on as a new teammate for you. What do you think is different about Target Chip Ganassi this year versus the previous years that you've been with this organization?
It's pretty simple. I think you know, we had even equipment, and when this team has even equipment, they definitely they show up pretty big, and it's like Penske. You know, now that the teams are using the same equipment, they've jumped leapfrogs ahead of the others. So you know, hopefully next year will stay the same. We just have to keep working hard over the winter, but you know, the biggest changes have been obviously the engine and the chassis.
Close quarters there the last couple of laps. What happened?
I don't know, man. I was trying to race side by side like we were all day, and Dan seemed to have a problem with that, so whatever.
Well, congratulations.
Well, that's going to make a very interesting 2007 between those two, I've got to say. I did think he looked like a man that wasn't that happy. He had a bit of an attitude about him when he was doing that interview just then. I mean, well, you know, 2 number ones in a team, sometimes I get a bit of a problem, especially if the management isn't able to keep control of them.
Well, it's interesting you say 2 number ones, Keith, because of course at the beginning of the year, Weldon came across to them as champion, if you like, as the bright young star. Dixon, if you remember, having, as he just alluded to, run on Toyota power for some time, not with the Honda experience, and really had been way out of it for a couple of years. Champion in 03, all but forgotten in 04 and 05. I mean, he really did have a difficult couple of years. So he definitely, in I think a lot of people's mind, was not joint number one in the Ganassi team. He was definitely a number two. What he's done this year is rescued his career, as Paul said at the top of the show. He really has rescued his career. He's come back strong, and I think probably he is a little bit sort of chippy about Dan's strength and political position within the team. So he wasn't happy about. That's where the needle came from in those last few laps.
So therefore, it needs good management to be able to keep that under control throughout 2007, Paul.
Well, with that exception, it probably needs some fairly good management for the next 20 minutes in the back of the transporter, I would think. You know, you've got two fiercely competitive people. I mean, Scott Dixon's a Kiwi, as we all know, fiercely competitive, doesn't like to have it all wrong. He's done a long time with Toyota Power. They really struggled. The Hondas just blew him away all the time. Suddenly, Dan's arrived on the team. He's got a very good rapport with Honda already. So there's all manner of things there. The politics are an interesting place to be. At the end of the day, they finished the race 1-2.
He certainly did, and Chip Ganassi 1-2 then in Illinois. Now then, Marco Andretti 2 weeks ago, the third generation winning in Indy cars. It's been a fantastic family effort for them over a great deal of years, and we can look back over that now.
And Andretti takes it. He's won the Indianapolis 500. Michael Andretti is slowing down. An unbelievable turn of events.
Marco Andretti, the 19-year-old rookie. Can you believe this?
When I was really young, I just remember hanging out at the Speedway Motel, just playing with my little race cars, pretending that the noises on the track were me. Right from the start, I was around it, and it was sort of a lifestyle for me. So it's like, you know, I want to do this too, you know. I saw my father and my grandfather did.
Marco was riding four-wheelers at 3 years old and doing it very well. That's where it shows you, if you have it, you have it. And that's when I discovered Marco had it. Any other kid just gets on and just goes full throttle right into the wall, you know. But as soon as he gets it a little too fast, he eases off the throttle. That's where I was convinced that you're born with it. Because I look at my other kids and they don't seem to have that same feel.
If there would be a way, a reasonable way to race forever, until I go to my grave, I would do that. But I came to terms that, you know, that's not a possibility. I don't know if there's another human being on this earth that loved driving a race car more than I did. And I see a lot of that in Marco.
9 years old, all eyes are on you. It's a lot of pressure, you know. As soon as I first stepped into a go-kart, I mean, there's cameras just everywhere. I actually took time off. It was like, there's so much pressure on me. At 9 years old, I was racing a couple of races. I was winning races, but I wasn't having fun. I quit because when my father and grandfather supported me quitting, it's like, you know, I guess I don't have to do this, you know. So, but I couldn't stand not driving cars or go-karts.
I knew he was the guy. If he wanted to do it, he had it. You know, obviously there's a lot more that goes with it then, you know, but he had the initial thing that you need.
I really see in him focus, commitment, and passion for it. Because without all of that, you know, might as well just be something else. I always said if there's anything that I think I can contribute, or his dad can contribute to his driving, is to prevent dangerous situations. For the rest of it, as far as the performance and being fast, being all those things, that's up to him. That's up to the individual. Those things I'm a firm believer you can't really teach.
I don't try to give advice. I just try to just be there, guide him, and you know, let him come to me when he needs help.
The knowledge between the two of them is pretty unbelievable, and it's a lot coming at you sometimes. The good thing about Dad is he realized with his dad always around, that it brings a lot of eyes, so he's sort of learned to take 2 steps back, and just because he's been in my position before, so when he does that, my grandfather sort of sees, and they're just there when I need them, which is perfect. That's what I need.
Marco knows he can come to me in a different way than come to another owner. But then there's also a disadvantage for me because I'll treat him as a dad and an owner. Marco has something that all of us had, and I think it's that he can go out his first lap and stand on it. And there's a lot of guys that can't do that. And I think that's the Andretti thing. You know, he's carried that on. There's something in the bloodline. You know, born with something, for sure.
There's a lot of records everywhere between my father and grandfather. I want to break all of them.
Car racing is the Andretti blood, for sure. That is, make no mistake about that.
Makes the hairs on your hands stand up when you see a family like that, doesn't it? Well, great news too for British fans from the Indy Pro Series. The support championship to the Indy Racing League. Yes, Florida-based Jay Howard took the title earlier today as well by just 4 points over America's Jonathan Klein. Howard, originally from Essex, finished third to clinch the title, and another Brit, Alex Lloyd, was fifth. The race was won by Wade Cunningham. Howard is hoping the victory will give him the chance to move up to the Premier Indy Series next year. So a lot of youngsters to look forward to as far as 2007 is concerned. Always got the issues of Champ Car, Indy Car and all of those problems, but I suppose the underlying feeling at this point in the year is it's been a good series this year. It's finished equal points, been decided on back counting. We've got some youngsters coming through. Not bad.
Not bad, a great year in fact all round, and yes, I fear that there is going to be, this being so early in September, an entire winter of politicking going on, merger, not merger, now seems to be definitely off, but the IRL's got great racing, and yeah, it's pedal to the metal at a place like this, but my goodness, that gave us great racing today, and if Weldon can come back next year and give us a good British run, that'll be great, and if he's joined by young Jay Howard and a number of others, as is possible, with a developing whole group of drivers coming through, like with Marco, it's got a strong future.
Few changes, no doubt, inevitably again before 2007. You've had your ear to the floor, Paul. Anything interesting going on?
I think there's going to be some interesting driver moves over the winter. There's a couple of sponsorship deals in the mix that I know will make a big difference to some of the other teams. Andretti Green are having a huge purge, as I understand. Bringing Danica on board's brought some more money in, and they're very determined to come back to the front. It was interesting that Dan alluded to the fact that without the Honda input that they've had, that they were perhaps not as well funded as before. But, you know, that's not a bad thing. The teams are very equal now within equipment, budget and personalities.
So a great year to come in 2007. So not the only battle, but the war has been won as well in 2006. The IndyCar season starts again next March, but we've plenty more live motorsports, of course, coming up here on Sky Sports. The second season of A1 GP will be live on Sky Sports, starting at the famous Zandvoort in 3 weeks' time. Qualifying is on Sky Sports 3 at 1 PM on Saturday the 30th of September, and the racing also on Sky Sports 3 at 1 PM on Sunday the 1st of October. But for now, on a day that the great Michael Schumacher announced his retirement from Formula One and Sam Hornish wins the 2006 IndyCar title, it's goodbye from Christopher, Paul and myself. Thank you for joining us today and indeed throughout the fantastic season. We leave you with some images of today's Indy 300 where the 2006 IndyCar champion was crowned. Goodbye.